Hey, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. This is our last Zoom with the principal for the school year. This time next week, I'm going to be running graduation practice, so I will not be able to be with you next week. So this is our last one. Our topic today is modeling self-care and really kind of using the summer as a opportunity to practice some self-care and modeling that for our kids so that they learn how to practice self-care for themselves also. I was driving to work this morning, and normally when I drive to work, because I have a half-hour commute, and that's usually my time to listen to podcasts and like educate myself about different stuff. I like to use that time as a way to learn more. I couldn't do it today. I'm gonna be honest, and I'm going to send something out to parents and students later this afternoon about what happened in Texas yesterday. But like today was not a day where I could really learn more. I wasn't in that mental space. So this was me practicing some self-care that I decided just to listen to music instead and hopefully make myself feel more positive. And so I was, driving along and listening to music, and there was this line in the song. It was Wake Me Up by Aloe Black was the song. And there was a line in the song that I was like, oh my God, that's so perfect for today and what our topic is. And so the line was, I was trying to carry the weight of the world, but I only have two hands. And I just blew my mind this morning of, as parents, we tend to do that. We carry the weight of the world and okay, we're going to do this and take this and we're going to organize this and we always put ourselves last. And so our topic today is really focusing on not putting ourselves last. Another thing I want to say about this, and this is, I shared a couple of weeks ago that I was home with COVID, that COVID had finally caught me. And when that happened, I'm going to be honest, when I tested positive for COVID, it was the worst possible timing. We were having a COVID outbreak at school. Lots of kids were out. We had lots of staff out. It's the end of the school year, which is May is absolutely the busiest month for me as in my job. So absolutely worst timing. My mom's in the hospital. It's just, and having to force myself to stop and not leave my house for 10 days and not do anything and not be at work. And I couldn't be around my parents to help them. I was forced to stop. And honestly, it was probably the best thing for my mental health that could have happened. And so, usually I feel like when we've talked about self-care, I've talked about taking care of yourself and remembering to exercise and do this and do that. And sometimes self-care is just stopping and just saying, I need a break. And so that was something that recently I learned because it was really hard for me. And then it was forced on me, and it really sunk in that lesson of sometimes you just need to stop. Yvonne, what do you have to say about this topic?
I love that. I think that's so important. And sometimes we do so many things. And I don't know if you realize all the things you just said. I know you do now as you're reflecting on it, but that's a lot. COVID and AP testing and your parents and all these things. And how many of us have things where if we were really to sit with it and acknowledge what we actually do, how many of us could just be whoa, I do that. And that's normal. So I think when we're talking about self-care, it's really if you're sitting with yourself right now and just kind of reflecting on all of the things you do as a parent, as a spouse, as a friend, as a daughter, son, as a employee, as a bot, whatever you are, all those things every single day, there's not enough hours in the day sometimes to take care of ourselves. And I like what you said about, it's not necessarily about getting the manis and petties, and all those things are wonderful, but it's about sometimes stopping, sometimes saying no. I was looking up some articles today about, just self-care in general, because I always like to read Psychology Today and things like that. And this key point that came up actually had me really pause. It says real self-care is choosing to create a life that you don't feel the need to regularly check out of. And I was like, oh, wow. So real self-care is choosing to create a life that you don't feel the need to regularly check out of. And how many times do we need to check out? You know, I watched probably 12 episodes of 90210 from the late 90s this weekend, and it was so mindless. And it was like, I was checking out. I didn't really do a whole lot around the house this weekend. I was just like burnt and tired. And so, how do I create a life for myself that doesn't require me to go mindless for 13 hours at a time? So it really like gave me that phrase, just kind of gave me this ability to reflect on like, gosh, there's so much going on with just school and work. And, you know, how do we model how to take care of ourselves? Because our kids are they're busy already, right? They're already busy and they have all these full lives. But like, as they grow into adults, like, how do we make sure that they know to take care of themselves? And I think it is about modeling. How do they see you model things? You know, my sons see me go in my room and lock the door for 13 hours sometimes. And for them, that's probably like, oh gosh, life must be miserable if you have to check out like that, you know? So how can I better, I guess would be the question, how can I better model self-care? And I think, you know, we don't think of ourselves first. It feels selfish. And I know we've talked about this with about our parents, and like my mom even now gives me a hard time that I give myself so much self-care. Like I'll make dinner and then I'll leave the kids and I'll go get a massage, or I'll go with my friends, or I'll go for a walk, or I'll do these things alone. And my mom would say things like, when I was a parent, I knew that that's what I had to do. And I didn't do all those things for myself because it was all about you guys. And then I always tell my mom, like, yeah, I know. And you had a heart attack when you were 42. So it's like, did that really work for you? And I don't want that for myself. And so now I'm really trying to model for my kids. It's like, hey, I have to take care of myself before I'm able to take care of you. So that for me really stuck out to me. It's like, gosh, like how many of you have things in life where you feel like when you're done with them, you have to check out? Is it your job? Is it parenting? Is it your relationship? Is it your family? Is it your friends? Like, what is it that makes you feel like you have to check out? For you, Jenny, what would that be?
I mean, I just, like I was saying, like, you know, like being forced to stop, and like I had like forced checkout for 10 days. It made me like take a step back and like the hours I was working, and just that I, you know, getting up and like trying to work out for almost 2 hours a day, and just not getting enough sleep. And it's everything. Yeah, it made me kind of take a step back and like, you know, I think I'm being so healthy, but um am I just putting too much on myself? And you know, I think that that's important. And you know, I think that why I like to do this topic, you know, for the last one of the school year and right before the summer starts, is I think summer is a great time to reflect, because the pressure of school, and those of us, you know, maybe a lot of you as parents, you're not actually working in a school the way Yvonne and I do, but you do have obviously have kids in school. And so summer is time, like a reset time where you don't have the structure of school and all of those pressures, and like your kids having to like, are they turning in their homework? Are their grades okay? Like what's, you know, happening in school? And so it's a great time to reset and reflect about priorities and how do we manage all of that. You know, so everything that we say today, I just want to like, don't start today. Because like making all these changes in like the last week of school, like I can't even imagine, like, you know, it's kind of like where we're at right now. And I'm sure you guys at home too, like you just need to get your kids through finals. Like, let's just finish the school year. My God, let's just go, like, and like put your head down, you're just doing it.
Yeah.
But in a week, you know, the last day of school, well, graduation's a week from today. The last day of school for everybody else is a week from tomorrow. Next Friday, June 3rd, that's the day to be like,
Yes. And there's going to be so many things that I'm talking about in regards to self-care. And for everybody, I want you just to pick a couple things that really stand out to you, or you feel like you can have them be beneficial to yourself, because there's gonna be like 100 things that people do for self-care and it looks different for everyone. So I want everyone to choose like at least 3 things where you're like, okay, that will be my focus, whether it's in the summer or next week, in 2 weeks, or whenever I start to do that. And some of them are so simple that it's like, you can start those now, but I don't want you to try to like change your life all of a sudden at the end of the school year. It's like, that's too much. That's too much. Another key point of this one was self-care means doing things you initially don't want to do and making the choice to do what's uncomfortable. And that's not something we think of when we think of self-care. We think of like pulling back or checking out or, saying no. But really, like sometimes doing hard things like going to the gym or working out. Like that's hard. That's not something that I long to do in the morning. Vincent says this is so true that self-care is important. We undercare ourselves when we overcare for our kiddos. Yep. And I think this also ties into our whole empty nest conversation of like, hey, we have to really make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, because at some point we're not going to have people to overcare for, and it's just us. And so it's really important that we do that. And then the other one is self-care is allowing yourself to be normal and average instead of always pushing yourself to be perfect or exceptional. I'm over that phase of my life of trying to make things perfect, but I know it is a thing for a lot of us of like, I need my house to be clean. And I always say like something has to give, right? There's only 24 hours in a day. To be perfect or seem to be perfect, are you giving up sleep? Are you giving up relationships? Like there's something that had to give. So what is that? I think I'm going to start with just like general about self-care. And these are all like different categories, and what you decide to like pick and choose from each of them. I think all of them are healthy. And I think the first one is saying no. We talked about this when we came out of quarantine of like, for me, it was like, there were so many things that I realized that I did out of obligation. And after COVID, I was like, I could say no. Like it felt really good to say no. I didn't have to go to like somebody's baby shower that I didn't really know very well and didn't want to go to. Like I'm a person that's really difficult for me to say no. And so, that for me is self-care, when I actually have the courage to be like, I'm really wanting to just stay home and relax tonight. Like how many things does everybody do that they don't necessarily want to do, but feel obligated to do? And obviously responsibilities with kids is different, but how many social events or parties or graduations for someone maybe don't really know too well have you said yes to when you really don't want to? I don't know. I don't have a huge circle in my life, but there's definitely things that I don't want to do.
Last Saturday just said no. I mean, and I had originally, I had tentatively said maybe because I wasn't sure the timing if I was even going to make it. But a friend of mine was having a birthday party for his wife, and it was just going to be this like big social thing. And I had like a bunch of stuff going on in the afternoon. And then I was like, no, I'm not going to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to. And I'm not going to make excuses of it about, like, I just don't want to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anybody else? Any obligations that you've had recently? Anything that you're like, oh, it kind of drained my energy and I wanted to say no, but I felt bad? No. You all have good boundaries already? Graduation season is coming up. So it is, sometimes it's just like, I feel bad and I'm going to go because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. But then what are you missing out on? Sleep, time with your family, rest, like really checking in with yourself and figuring out, what do I need today to be okay? And then seeing if that plan works out with that. Get regular exercise. This is one, if you decide this is your one. Getting regular exercise, 30 minutes of walking a day even, can help boost your mood and improve your health. And I know that when my mood is better and I feel healthier, I want to do more, and not just with exercise, but just in general. Like when I come to work, if I actually decide to get up in the morning and work out, I always feel better at work. I'm so sorry. I don't know why my phone is ringing off the hook. It says Eastside Union High School District. Like, that's not good. So getting exercise. Are we getting exercise? Is that something that we model for our kids? I know I have some students that are like, my parents exercise every day and it really like inspires me to want to exercise. And then I think about my own kids and I'm like, ooh, what are they seeing? Do they know that me exercising equates to me being more productive? Like, I don't know that they've made that connection. Eat healthy, regular meals and stay hydrated. This is all stuff like just taking care of your body. If your body feels good, you're more productive, you feel more relaxed. How do you feel, Jenny, when you don't work out?
Oh, I feel awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, but it's one thing that I've had to like, and I guess like with me, it's just the way I am, I can be really competitive with myself. And so I'm always like, oh, I need to run faster. I need to like work out for longer. And so I have to like actually like really kind of check myself and be like, I did this today and like this is enough. Like I woke up this morning feeling really tired, not a lot of energy. I still worked out, but I didn't push myself. And so I still did it, but it wasn't like the most intensive Peloton ride I've ever done in my life. And that's okay. And so I think that, that's also like self-care. Yeah, you're getting moving because I think that it's so important. And I can be honest, like if I don't know how I would have handled the stress of this school year without exercising every day. It, I don't think I would have been able to do it. So it is really, really important. And it is a way that I practice my self-care and that I get up really crazy early in the morning to do it. I like that because the house is quiet. It's my time, like nobody else is up except me and the cats. And yeah, it's just kind of like this like time that I have just for me.
Here's an important one. How much sleep is everybody getting?
So that's something that I think this year with having to get up so early, I have had to really prioritize sleep and I go to bed so early. Like I haven't seen 9:30 in a really long time.
Wow,
I go to bed really, really early but what I've had to give up is I've told like, I am addicted to my trashy romance novels and I love them. I am not reading nearly as much as I used to because that's what I'm giving up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put the book down and I'm going to go to bed instead.
Yeah. And how much sleep do we give up because we're up doing things for our kids, right? I don't know if anybody else has had the like kid who's like, oh my gosh, I have nothing clean for tomorrow. Can you stay up and wait for the dryer? I should say no. So I got to do better on those boundaries, but sleep is huge, like with mental health, with just motivation, with in life in general. Like I cannot think of anything more important than getting a full night of sleep. And we nag at our kids to sleep more. And then what are we doing for ourselves? What does our sleep hygiene look like? Set goals and priorities. And again, it's like picking the 3 top things for you that you feel would be most beneficial. I wish I had the life wheel up because I really like to use that life wheel. And I know I've brought it to the parent talks a few times. And it basically is like categorizes our lives into like 10 separate categories. And then we put them in order of how we're doing in those, whether it's our friendships, our health, our mental health, our spirituality, our relationships, our work, our grades, our finances, all these different categories, and which one of them do we feel like we put the most effort into and which ones do we need work on, right? Like mine is always like, I need to work more on my health. I need to work more on my family. I tend to spend a lot of time with like friends or doing fun things and things like that, but like I neglect the like health and stuff. So really like reflecting on for us, like where are the things where we're lacking, right? Is it the sleep? Is it the eating healthy? Is it the exercise? Is it hanging around positive people? Do we have a lot of people in our life that tend to sap a lot of our energy? I get a lot of like, sometimes I'll get phone calls late at night that people are like, oh my gosh, she's a social worker. I'm going to call her and tell her all these things. And it's like, I've heard things all day long. So sometimes I just need to really check out, but I don't know how to say no. And so I know for me that that's something that I need to work on so that I have more time to do all those things that are healthy for myself and have my kids watch me do that and be able to say no. I kind of grew up thinking saying no to people makes you a jerk or makes you mean or rude. It's never been about like self-preservation or being okay. It's always been like, you just want to, I'm a people pleaser. I want people to be happy. And so at the expense of my own health and well-being, I say yes. I don't know if you're like that too, but you're just like, I know as we get older, we get a little bit better at it. But how does everybody else do with just being able to set boundaries and say no? This next one is practicing gratitude. And I think it's easy to do. Like even yesterday, like I had to stop watching the news at a certain point last night because it was just feeling really, really heavy. And I really wanted to focus on, my gosh, like life is so fragile and things are horrible here and there, but I had to focus on gratitude. Like I was so grateful that my children are safe. I'm so grateful that there's people that care. I'm so grateful that we have staff here that like really, truly, genuinely care about the kiddos. Like I had to focus on that for me. And so for you all, it's like, I know there's a lot of hard things going on in the world, in our families, with our children, but what is it for you that you're grateful for? And it sounds so cliche, but I think focusing on that gratitude keeps us going. It's easy. It would have been easy last night. All the hard work we do, and what does it even matter? The world is a horrible place, and gun laws, and the whole thing. And it was like I had to pause myself. I couldn't let myself go down that rabbit hole of like despair and hopelessness. And I had to focus on like, what am I grateful for? What's working well?
I'm so glad you said that, because it this is every time there's a school shooting, it is so hard to be an educator. I'm personally so angry and so frustrated, and just helpless, and it's just the most awful feeling. And I like that you talked about, going back to gratitude and like what you're grateful for in your own life, because that every time I think about what I'm grateful for and I like consciously like think about gratitude, it makes me like remember everything that's positive in my life. And because there is just a lot, God, in the past 2 years, just everything that's happened in our world, everything is just like, there's just so much negativity, but like focusing on the positive and like what we're grateful for, it's so helpful. It really is so helpful.
I'm sorry, I have to open the door for a kiddo really quickly. He's gonna walk into the garden.
So Amy says, I spent a lot of time planning summer vacations, lots of things to consider because the pandemic is not yet over. Very stressful. Totally. I'm with you. It's because the pandemic isn't over. We've seen it at Piedmont Hills this past month. I mean, gosh, I think it was worse in January. And it's not over. We want it to desperately to be over. It's not. But I think, if you could plan a summer vacation. I actually, I'm not taking a summer vacation, but when I was just a couple of weeks ago, I was planning, we give the students a school planner at the beginning of the school year. I had to because we have the handbook pages. And so I was finishing those pages for the planner to send to them. And so I had to go through the calendar for next year. And we actually get out really late next year. I think our last day of finals is December 23rd or something like that. So we have to get out really late, but that means that we have the whole first week of January off. We don't go back until I think January 8th for school. And my family never wants to be gone for Christmas. They act like I'm murdering them if we aren't home at home with a Christmas tree for Christmas. But I'm like, oh, this is perfect. And so I booked a family vacation to Hawaii for leaving 3 days after Christmas and being on the whole first week of January. And I'm so excited about that.
That's awesome. We did our first Christmas away and it was the best thing I ever did.
My kids will not accept not being home for Christmas. And
that's awesome. And that's something to be so grateful for, that we have the ability to travel during the holidays and, all these things. And so, I love Amy that said that planning vacations. There's something in therapy that's actually basically calendar therapy, which basically is putting things on the calendar to look forward to. And it could be something small. It could be I'm going to the farmer's market on Sunday, but when we have something positive to look forward to, it helps everything else. It helps us with the motivation to get through everything else. And so if there's nothing on your calendar coming up, it doesn't have to be an extravagant vacation to the French Riviera. It could be something simple like going to the park with our kids. But when we know to expect something really positive, I think it's really healing. And it really gives us that guidance to be able to move forward.
I really like that. I tend to only have like meetings and tasks to do on my calendar, but putting something that's fun and positive, because I don't tend to put stuff like that on my calendar.
I don't either. Like if somebody looked at my calendar, they would be like, what are you doing? There's nothing fun going in there, but just even a trip to, you know, like I said, the park or meeting up with a friend, or, you know, it's nice to look at your calendar. You're like, oh, cool, I have coffee with so-and-so this weekend. Like, that's amazing. And making sure you're doing that for yourself. I think as parents, sometimes we have this like hard focus on like, get your school done and do all these things. But there's so many other components of our kids' lives that are so valuable and important to keep them motivated. They have to do more than just school. And I know that school is important, but if you're not taking care of yourself altogether, then you're probably not going to do that well in school. And so model that. Yes, you have a job. Yes, you have responsibilities, but you also have some time for yourself to just enjoy. There are things to enjoy and be grateful for. And I think sometimes we get so busy that we don't even have the time to do that. And so we have to pause and do that for ourselves. There's this summer wellness, if you will, kind of plans that I have here. And so just some ideas of things that you might be able to do this summer. I don't know how I feel about this one. It says ditch the couch. I'm just kidding. Ditch the couch and relax outdoors. Grab a blanket, go outside. When I actually go outside and just sit for the sake of just sitting there, every time I do it, I'm like, why don't I ever do this? Why don't I ever come into my backyard? Like, why don't I ever just enjoy the space that I have? Like, it's like a surprise every time. Like, wow, this is fantastic. It's like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. The fresh air is my face, the sun's setting, and it feels really good. But I do it probably once every 2 months, you know? So ditch the couch, go outside, do something different, relax, get out there. And, you know, a lot of times we say like, there's no time. Like, we have to make time. Like, what things are we spending so much energy on that maybe require a few more boundaries so that we have the energy and the time to do something relaxing? Go for a walk. It's so cliche to go smell the roses, but sometimes just walking through the neighborhood and just like appreciating the fact that I have a house in a neighborhood right now, you know, or just like different change of scenery. You know, just that change of scenery can be so healing. You're in your office all day, you're in your house all day, you're in your car all day, or whatever you're doing. And then to just change it up a little bit, I think can be really healing for us. It says explore your farmers market, your local farmers market. I love farmers markets. Even if I don't buy anything, I just love to be out and see what's there and see fresh flowers and all that stuff. If you have the opportunity to do that, I think that's something that you can do that's simple. This one, I really enjoy this. I don't know if anybody else does, but it says tidy one small space. I love organizing. Like, I'm kind of this like chaotic human. So when people come to my house and realize that it's very clean and organized, they're always very surprised by that. But for me, that's like super healing. So what is it for you? Like, what is it that makes you excited? What is it that makes you feel good? Like, I know when I walk into my house, if my counters are clean and everything's kind of put away, I feel better. I'm a firm believer that our space is a reflection of what's going on in our minds, right? Like, my office right now is a little more chaotic than usual. And that's kind of what's happening in my mind at work right now. It's a little bit more chaotic than usual. So check your space. What does it feel like right now? Do you feel like it's a reflection of where you are in life right now? I can't see your space.
My space, I tend to keep my office very organized and neat. And like spaces that, and then you're like talking and you're making me think about my house. And the problems are, I have this like thing where I don't like to pick up other people's messes. Like, so like my kids, I'll like make them do it, but then like they don't, and I don't want to yell at them, so it just sits there. And even my husband tends to like just leave clutter like around, and I'm like he'll like move like one pile, like instead of putting stuff away, he just moves it to a different table, and I'm like, what was the point? Like, why did you do that? It just drives me crazy. So my house tends to be more cluttered. I'm actually, I was like, I need to, and I don't know if I'll get to it this weekend, but sometime soon. It's time to clean out my closet again. And that always like is like the best feeling, like when like I get rid of stuff. I love that. I love like the Marie Kondo, like get it out. It's not bringing me joy. Get it out.
Yeah, yeah. And then you end up with nothing sometimes. You're like, oh, I guess nothing really brought me joy. But yeah, our space is a huge part, like our environment. That's one of the 10 categories in our life wheel. Like, how is your environment? Does it need work? Is it a reflection of where you are in your life? And how do you make time to address that? I feel like sometimes we think of self-care as being the like more like decadent, indulgent things in life. Like we go on vacations and again, do like our nails and get massages and all this stuff. But there are so many things that we can do that are free, that are helpful for our lives, that are, that can motivate us and inspire us. It's like, it doesn't have to be something that costs money. Maybe we don't have the money to go on a vacation. That's okay. Like, doesn't mean that we're not taking care of ourselves.
Well, and it can be like, yeah, it can be something so simple. Like this morning when I was driving to work, and like I told you, I was listening to music, and like there was a song that came on that I was like, oh, I really like the song. And then it ended, and I'm like, I'm gonna listen to it again because I really liked it and it made me happy.
I love it.
It's just like yeah, just give yourself that moment.
Look at, you're on my number 6. It says make a summer playlist. Music is powerful. Music, I literally can shift moods depending on which playlist I put on. Mine always tend to be very somber. I don't know why. Like, it's just kind of always been my thing of like old, like somber music. I think it maybe gets me in the headspace of like being serious and working and all that. But sometimes we just need to like let loose, and what makes us feel good. What are those songs that maybe when bring you back to a time in your life when you were relaxed, when you were enjoying things, when maybe the stress of the world wasn't so heavy on your shoulders? For me, I was good at my 90s mixes because that was like my free wild time, right? Like, so for everyone, like, what is that for you? Make a playlist. It's very mood shifting. It's very powerful, so if that's something that you're interested in, or if you don't know how to use Spotify yet, talk to your kids to help you figure it out like mine did.
I would be so excited. Like, that would be one thing that your kids would like be thrilled to help you with.
I know. I'm like, you guys have no idea how lucky you are to not have to wait by the radio for 4 hours until your favorite song comes back on. Like, you have no idea. Like, it's like a big deal. So now that we can do that, make a playlist for yourself. Something, I actually have like a cleaning playlist. I have like a vegging out playlist, but maybe I just need one that's like upbeat and mood boosting. This next one, I can't even remember the last time I ever did this. Have a picnic. Have a picnic. Take your lunch outside, get some fresh air, go to the park, sitting on the green grass, lay a blanket out, take a nap out there. I mean, do whatever you got to do, but just something different. Like, when's the last time anybody's done a picnic?
Actual picnic? I don't know. I mean, in the summertime, like when we were talking about being outside, we tend to eat dinner outside.
Yeah.
A lot, because I like to sit outside when the weather's nice.
Yeah.
I love that. Until the yellow jackets come and swarm with food.
And they totally ruin it. Yeah, absolutely. I had a student last week come up to me and tell me, like, he's like, I always thought like certain self-care things were very cliche, but this year, and it was a male student, which I actually absolutely loved because it just meant more to me because I've never hear males talk about it. He's like, I started a journal this year, and it has been so cool to see how far I've come this year and what things were on my nerves that don't even matter anymore. It says continue or start a journal. How are you feeling? I love when I'm doing well to write, because I tend to write when I'm not doing well. And so when I write when I'm doing well, there's always reminders in those segments of my journals where I put 2 and 2 together, like, oh, it makes sense that I was feeling good at that time because I was exercising, or I was connecting with friends, or I was doing this, or like, oh, it makes sense that I was, miserable during this time because I was overworking and I was staying at work till 7 and I was, not putting boundaries down. So journals are just a good place to reflect and figure out like where in your life things need adjustments.
I have a journal for people that like, oh, journaling seems like just a blank notebook seems like intimidating. I have one that it asks like questions every day. And so you just like answer the questions. And sometimes they're repetitive, and sometimes I'm like literally the other day, I'm like, I wrote, I'm not in the mood to answer this question. Like I don't, like sometimes I'm like, I don't care about that. But one question that always, like not every day, because they're not the same questions every day, but they do repeat. But one that frequently comes up is the gratitude question. Like, what are you grateful for? And I love that it does ask me that and like makes me remember, okay, what am I grateful for?
Yeah. And parents, I want you to throw in the chat what you are grateful for. I think it's important, like in light of like yesterday and just those heavy things, is that we really are reflecting on those. What is it that you're grateful for today? This one, okay, have you ever like reconnected with a friend from high school or from the past and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it took so long for me to hang out with them? I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I did dinner with 3 girls that I used to play softball with in high school. And it was so cool to just catch up. And I like kicking myself. I'm like, why did this take 25 years? Like, why did I do this? So this next one is reconnecting with someone. Is there someone in your life that maybe you enjoyed spending time with when you were younger, but just like life got in the way, kids got in the way? Maybe it's a family member. Maybe you haven't called your parent in a while. Maybe it's somebody that, you know, you're an old neighbor, somebody that brought like positive vibes to you. Like if you can reconnect with them, a phone call, a text, I never regret it when I do it. It's always a good time. And I don't know why I don't do that. Call an old friend, a parent, a grandparent, call somebody that you haven't connected with. And phone calls are so, they're so amazing. I don't know. I don't talk on the phone that much anymore because I'm just like a texter now, but just to like kind of go back to like old school, call someone and let them know that you're thinking about them. Like not only does it feel good to engage, but it also makes the other person feel good too. And so just your connections with people. I always say like monitor your space and figure out if there's people in your life that are really pulling energy from you, and you're not getting a lot of that. That's okay. Like sometimes we have to be a good friend and deal with hard things, but at the same time, we have to have our boundaries of like making sure we have the balance of positive people and people that maybe we give a lot of energy to, because otherwise we're like sapped out. Like we don't have enough energy to give to ourselves. We give enough to our children already. So we want to make sure that we're really cautious and mindful about how we spend our energy. There's only what 3 hours in a day when you're working and sleeping, and so making sure that we're using that time in a way that's really intentional to help us feel good. Go exploring. Gas prices are high. That's a hard one. Go for a walk. Go for a long walk. This is practice mindfulness. I used to think mindfulness was like this totally cliche, like buzzword of like, you know, social workers are all using it, until I really started practicing it. And sometimes what I have to do is just like, in this moment, I'm good. I'm sitting in my office. I'm sitting with all of you. We're talking about mindfulness. It's like, I know there's a lot of things that need to be done. I know there's a lot of things that happened yesterday, but in this moment, like being present is like the safest, calmest space. And we don't really sit in the moment because we're so focused on what's coming next. So just like kind of like ground yourself. I always have students do like a grounding exercise of like, I want you to tell me like 5 things you see in the room, 4 things you hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell. Can you taste anything right now? You really start to focus on the environment instead of just like you. It's crazy like how our thoughts can be like 2 days away and we're not even living in this moment. And sometimes there's good things happening and we don't even see it. It's right in front of us. So for me, that's what I think of when I think of mindfulness. This one says try meditation or make a list of 10 things you're thankful for. And I know some days that's really hard to think of. And then other days it's like, I have all these things I'm grateful for. And this last one is do a needs assessment. How did your week go last week? Is there anything you could do to make next week better? Maybe you need more sleep, more social time, more healthy meals. So like if you're just to reflect on this past week, like think about like, how do I feel today? Do I feel burned out? Do I feel like I could take on anything? Like where am I right now? And what healthy things have I not done to put me in the headspace that I'm in right now? Like for me, my water drinking sucked. I didn't exercise enough. And like I can feel that. So
That's something I try to do every Sunday, is take like a little bit of time. Usually it takes me about a half hour where I sit there and I plan out, first off, I plan out my workouts for the week. So I have a plan of like what I'm going to do every day. And I actually, I haven't made a secret that I have a policy. I'll go through and I'll like, but not just like, oh, I'm going to ride the bike for 30 minutes. I'll plan out like, this is the class I'm going to do. And that actually helps because I tend to like forget, like, if I do it on Sunday, I'm not necessarily at Thursday. I'm like, what did I like plan out? And then I'll look at my list and like because I write it out. I'm like, oh, that ride did seem like it was going to be really fun. And then it kind of reminds me and then I look forward to it. But just having that time, I like to do it on Sunday to like think about my week and like, what's happening with like, not just my workouts, but what's happening with work. Is there like big things? Am I going to have an evening event? Is there like a major thing happening? Is it just a regular week? Like what, it's just, I think taking that time, it's just really helpful. If I'm like really super organized, I also will make all my lunches for the week so that I have healthy lunches. I don't always do that. It's always my goal. It doesn't always happen. But it is always my goal.
Like when you dedicate that time to just prepare yourself for the week, like everything runs so smoothly. Like I can tell on a Monday, like I forgot to pack my lunch and I'm like chaos and I'm yelling to get the kids out the door and the whole thing. And it's like, that sets the tone for our whole week. And how am I showing my kids how to like manage and take care of things that are stressful? Like so important. And if you don't have the time on a Sunday to kind of figure things out and get your life in order, then it's time to reflect on like, what do I need to be doing differently to allow myself the time to just like get organized and get it together before the week starts? Because it sets that tone. Like Monday was chaotic and then it just kind of builds from there. And so to pause and just say like, how can I make my life something that I don't need to check out of? Because Monday mornings, I want to check out after that. So what is it for you all? Like, what are the obstacles that get in the way of you being able to do things in a way that really is caring for yourself? Maybe it's health, maybe it's family, maybe it's just dealing with your kids and trying to get them to turn in assignments and the whole thing. So like for all of us, like we need to find out what is the obstacle that gets in the way of us giving ourselves really good self-care.
So one thing that and this is in my family growing up, we always had a tradition of like family Sunday dinners, like, where like extended family would come. And I have found, especially like in recent years, that me hosting that on Sunday, I could go to one and it's okay. Like if it's at my parents' house or something like that, but like me hosting it, it's like so much work that I can't then plan out my week. Cause it just like, I'm spending all day Sunday, dealing with this family dinner and cooking and everything. And I enjoy it. And so I don't want to make it sound like it's not something I enjoy because I do enjoy it. But then it, like what I'm sacrificing is that time to like think about my week and like settle in and be like, okay, have that time. So like an adjustment I've made is like, let's do it on Saturday. Let's do the family thing on Saturday. Cause then I can like, and then I have Sunday to be like quiet time and like get ready for my week.
Yeah. You're so good because my adjustment would have been let's pick up Taco Bell and we all hang out.
Can't imagine and telling my father that we were going to eat Taco Bell. Wow. His mind would explode.
Imagine. But just like, yeah, what is it that stands in the way of being able to do all of these healthy things for yourself? Like what keeps you up? What keeps us up at night if we're not good sleepers? For me, it's like stupid videos on my phone. What is it really that valuable that I'm willing to take away hours that I could be resting? So find those obstacles in your life and figure out how do we address those so that we have the ability and the energy. Because let's be honest, like life in general, sometimes it's just exhausting. And that's when things are going okay. So when things start to pile up, it's like we want to make sure that we're prepared to tackle things in like a really organized way, because otherwise it just gets stressful. So yeah, that's what I have today.
Yeah, I guess I want to like, tie this back to our kids because, that's why we're all here because we're parents, right? And modeling this and figuring this out for yourself means that you can help your kid figure it out for them. and give them some advice, those times when they're listening to you. And maybe like, they're not going to listen to you, but maybe they'll listen to another trusted adult. There was this girl that was talking to me on Monday. She came up to me at lunch and she was frantic and so stressed out about, something her teacher had said to her. And she was like, this is a senior that's about to graduate. She's like, I haven't had an AP test, blah, 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 and she's like, so like stressed and she's like, I haven't been sleeping. And I said to her, like, okay, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. But really what I need you to do tonight is go home and get 10 hours of sleep. I need you to do that. And I promise you it's going to be okay. And so that's just something that like reminding our kids when they get really, really stressed about stuff, that it's going to be okay. And like, what is something that they can take off their plate? What is something that they can do to like prioritize self-care when things get really stressful?
Yeah. And it's that like, I don't have to be perfect, because perfection comes at a price. And what is that price?
Yeah. And I think that like, because I think as parents, we tend to, like I said, I told you this quote from the song, I was trying to carry the weight of the world, but I only have two hands. Like we can't do everything. And so admitting to our kids and modeling to our kids, like I can't do it all. I have to like say no to this. I have to let go of this because it's not good for me. And I have to prioritize my own mental health and like taking care of myself. Like that is the best thing that you can teach your kids.
Yes. Will they listen all the time? No. Do they have to learn the hard way sometimes? Yes.
No, but one thing I always like to say is, and I talked about this with like working with teachers, like everybody, you plant seeds. Like you just plant little seeds and it's not going to grow right away, but you planted that seed and it's going to be there and it's going to niggle in their brain and they're going to be like, oh yeah, my mom said that to me and I should do that. Like that's just plant those seeds. It's really important.
They do sprout. It might take 20 years, but they do grow.
They do. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up. Thank you guys so much. The parents that are here tonight, you guys have been like our constants. So thank you. Like I said, this is our last one for the school year, but we will start again in August. But thank you so much and thank you, Vincent, for saying the weekly Zoom meeting is so informative, useful. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you too. Have a great summer. That's the goal of these meetings, is to be helpful. So thank you guys all so much. If I don't see you, have a great summer. I will send out, I won't send out a weekly newsletter over the summer, but
you better not. You gotta say no.
No, I gotta take.
Thank you.
But I will send out like a couple during
Have a great summer.
You too.
Yeah.
Have a great summer.
Yeah, you too. You guys have a wonderful summer. I hope you do something fun. All right.
When the school is starting for next year? I forgot August. What date?
It starts on August 9th.
August 9th. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
bye-bye.
All right.
Enjoy your summer.
Thank you.
I know, Tiffany. Don't worry. It's okay. It's okay. All right. Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.